Hello, I'm Mr. Pleasant Books. For this book talk, we're going to be discussing the third book in the New World series, Sanctuary. Now, this one is where Jack and the teams finally get Sanctuary. They get to Cabela's, which is where Jack was thinking about. They start trying to make it a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more calm, so they can have some actual downtime without always being tense and ready to fight. Some bad things happen in this book, and it's very sad, but still good book, good series. Definitely should read it. Okay, from here forward, there's going to be spoilers. Just letting you know. Bye. All right. So, A New World Sanctuary. And first we start with the book with Jack getting a text from his second ex-wife. He has two ex-wives. And I guess, he's always looking for someone. And glad he found Lynn, because Lynn seems to work really well with him. They seem to mesh a lot better than... Well, I mean, we haven't really seen any of his ex-wives yet, but just going through this story, the ex-wife he goes to get, how did Jack end up with her? And considering that the boyfriend she has now, who's a complete idiot, and they get down there to save him, and this guy just doesn't get it. But before all of that, they get to Cabela's, they fight their way into it, and unfortunately they lose an entire team of soldiers, entire 6-man team of soldiers, because of just how many Night Runners there are. And the fact that the Night Runners are a little bit tougher and faster, so they're willing to jump off of the second story in order to land on the people below them. And so they just lose an entire team, which sucks, because they don't have that many people to begin with. And when your numbers are already small, you don't want to lose the little bit that you have. But they take over the store. They get armored doors to block everything off. They see the windows are high enough that you don't have to worry about them, they hope. But they start making plans to build a wall around it by using the cement barriers on highways, which, is actually a good idea if you can get the people to do it. And you say, okay, I want somebody trained on the crane, need somebody in the diesel truck. Whereas those things are hard to use. I've used them in various jobs that I've had. So you can pick them up afterwards. It just is going to take a lot to learn properly. Because you got to account for the wind. You got to know how to ship. There's just a lot to those vehicles. But they're going to be able to learn that. Or so they already had a little bit of that basic knowledge. Not how to work the crane, but how to drive the semi-trucks, which is the more important of the two to learn how to do. Because as long as there's no wind, the crane isn't really going to be that big of a deal. You'll have time to practice and get a feel for the controls. But whereas if you can't drive the diesel trucks properly, that's going to slow you up. That's going to cause problems. It's going to cause accidents because you're going to be backing up and going forward. Yeah. Anyway, and they find out his mom is still okay. And as they're driving down there to get her and coming back, he sees movement in his rear view mirror and the side mirrors. And so he stops to try to find out what that movement is, because it's during the day. So it's not Night Runner, but he can't find anything. He goes back, so he looks, no tracks because it's the road. So, but he sees movement and he's worried about it. Just sets off a click in his head. We get back to Cabela's and we see that Jack and Mike the dog are kind of still around each other, but it seemed like the author was trying to make a connection between him and the dog, like trying to show. Like be together, like they would go do stuff together. But Jack just comes across as too much of a loner, too much of wanting to be by himself when he does those missions. Like, yeah, he'll have a team, but he prefers to do it alone. So I don't think it's going to work out with the dog. I think the dog is going to end up being the little kid's dog rather than Jack's dog, just because. Yeah, Jack, and even right now you can already tell he prefers to do things on his own. But right now, while Jack and Robert, Bree, and Lynn are all down getting his ex-wife, her boyfriend, and his stepdaughter, the Night Runners attack Cabela's. And one of them climbs up top, gets through a door, attacks Driscoll, but Nicole distracts the Night Runner, so it ends up biting her. And Nicole holds on just long enough for Jack to get back, and then dies. And that's hard. And reading that part, that was a hard part to read, because just the emotion that they put into the book right there, that was a difficult one. I didn't enjoy reading that. And then later in the book, they're going into Safeway, and Robert gets bitten and dies right there in front of Jack. Man, that that made me just want to throw the book down. Like, what the heck, dude? It just happened. He just lost a kid, and now he's losing his second. That one, thankfully, the Robert one turned out to be like a vision or imagination or something like that. So Robert didn't actually die, and I was just, whew, because that was a hard one. That was going to be very difficult to read. Two of his kids dying right away like that. Because Nicole caused Jack to shut down for a week when she died. I don't know what would have happened if Robert died, but he seems really close with Robert, and that would have sucked. And screw you, John O'Brien, for doing that, for messing with the emotions that way and killing Robert. That just wasn't nice. That was mean. Just, yeah. Something interesting that's also happening is one of the Night Runners, a woman, seems to be remembering who she is. Like she wakes up in the darkened house and wonders, where are my kids? What happened to my kids? And as she begins to run out, she grabs the front door, and that's when the Night Runner takes back over, and she goes back upstairs until the nighttime. Now, just the way that they're describing her and the way she reacted, I think it's actually the kid's mom, Jack's ex-wife, but Robert, Nicole, and Bree's mom. That's remembering being human. And she remembers enough and changes back to herself enough that she actually goes walk around during the day. So even though she had transformed into a Night Runner, she transformed back into a human. She gets caught by the group that's taken over the high school, and they fortified that place, and she gets caught by them. But yeah, so it's showing that maybe the transformations aren't permanent, or maybe some people have just like a slower healing ability. Like, they'll heal from it, it's just going to take them a little longer. Because we also see on the other end that there's one Night Runner who's becoming smarter, and he's becoming stronger, and who's going to, I think, be a big deal later on. Like, the Safeway that Jack had that vision at was the home of this Night Runner who remembers his name, remembers how to talk like a person, not just the mind pictures. So this is showing two different ways that they're going. The Night Runners are evolving, or one is at least, and the other Night Runner is devolving back into a human. So the mutation is still happening and still changing and still working on people's bodies. So I'm actually really excited to see where it goes with this, because he was saying that he could see in a much wider area. So maybe he's going to become like the boss of a huge pack, and they're going to have to deal with like hundreds and thousands of them, all controlled by one mind. Something else that they've come up with, once they finish the wall, and it 4 miles long wall to make it big enough for extra people who come in, because they have been finding more people. They also want to bring in cattle and plant crops and all this to self-sustain. Get a windmill to help power with the solar, and just make their lives a little bit easier as they're in this 20-foot walled enclosure of safety. Is that they've started setting up cameras to keep track of the Night Runner movement, and then also booby traps, like setting up mines and grenades to detonate as the Night Runners go by, to kill them even at night, to make the Night Runners more afraid, or just to thin their numbers, however you want to look at it. It's a good idea, something to keep in mind. And John O'Brien really seemed to think about how he would fight back. And good on him, because he has a lot of good ideas about how to do this. Thing that we see, well, I mean, just a little side note: the zoo animals. I didn't consider them, but they consider them in the book. Go and release them. Unfortunately, because it's been weeks, most of the zoo animals are dead. But they release the ones that are still alive to let them go and live a life, which would be kind of interesting to find out if lions and tigers and those type of things would survive in the North America enough to populate, especially with the Night Runners eating animals as well. And you got to figure a tiger and that stuff would fight back pretty hard. They even say in the book that the bear enclosure there's a bunch of dead Night Runners but no dead bear. So So that's gonna, hopefully, maybe that's gonna be something that comes up later, but it'll be something interesting to think about. And at the end of the book, though, Robert, they take a day off when they finish the wall. So Robert, Michelle, his girlfriend, Bree, and Gonzalez, who is the second in command of Red Team, all decide to head out to the beach just to relax and enjoy their day. And they end up getting run off the road by somebody, by that movement, most likely, that Jack kept seeing in his rearview mirror whenever he was out driving. So they run him off the road, and that's how the story ends. So these books like keep picking up one right after the other. So I'm guessing that the next book is going to be finding out what happened at that exact moment when they run off, and keep going with the story. So there's not these huge jumps in the timeline. That's it. That's the end of the book. That's everything I noticed and remembered and thought was pretty neat. Hope you enjoyed it. Please come back. Talk to you later. Mr. Pleasant Books.